All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another carnivore diet interview. So I am super excited. I'm super excited to bring this guest on because honestly, we're going to be talking about so much more than just the carnivore diet. We're going to get a lot into like fitness and mindset and some super exciting things like that. I've had a lot of really good conversations with him through the DMs and stuff like that, and he inspires me a lot. He is traveling, he got a van, he's traveling all over the world doing a bunch of super cool stuff. He's super into bodybuilding and mindset, and we share a lot of the same values. So it's going to be a super exciting talk today. Michael, welcome.
Hello, hello. Geez, that was a good intro. Keaton,
Not
how's it
bad?
now? You're paying me in the good light.
Nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. I'm so excited. I want to start off talking about just your spontaneous life, and I kind of want you to tell people like what you're doing right now, what you decided a few months ago when you bought the van, and kind of just what you're up to.
Yeah, at the moment I'm just kind of traveling around Australia in a van. Has its ups and downs. It's mainly ups though. Bought the van at the start of the year. Didn't really have any plans on it. Just kind of came back to Australia and I was like, oh, I am homeless. So I needed somewhere to stay. And the rental market here isn't too good. I'm not sure how it is in Canada and the US and all that kind of stuff, but here it's really hard to find a home. So um, just based on that, I decided, look, there's nothing tying me back to my home in Sydney. This is probably the only opportunity I'm going to have in life to just explore, live life on my own terms. So but I was extremely happy with where I was in life up until that point. It was just circumstantial, I guess you'd say, where I was like, hey, just may as well take this chance and go with the flow. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So prior to this, you were traveling quite a bit, right? And you even just got back from Bali, right?
Yeah, I did. Just probably 2 weeks ago, and then I leave again to Europe in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's a tough life.
That's insane. That's amazing. What are some of your favorite places that you've been to? I'm curious.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough one. I think see, I grew up overseas. I grew up in Switzerland. So
Okay.
Um, I think I always have a soft spot for the mountainous just kind of areas. So Switzerland for me is hard to go by, but it's stupidly expensive. So I'm not sure I'd live there. But
Yeah.
in terms of places I'd love to visit, I think I'm really in love with Southeast Asia just because the people are there super friendly. And it's obviously quite affordable compared to a lot of, the other first world kind of
Yeah.
countries. So, like, I love that aspect of it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know you and I have talked about I'm like dying to go to Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
I mean,
come on, man. Yeah, you should join me one day. It'd be amazing.
seriously, it seems like such a win-win because there's so much to do. It's so beautiful and it's like it's just a steal. Like the food, everything, rent, everything is so affordable. So I'm curious how I know okay, because this is my biggest worry right now. Besides like finances, traveling, honestly, my biggest worry is just my diet. Like
Mm.
even where I live right now, it's too hard to even go to a restaurant and try and kind of deal with the hassle of like giving specific instructions and stuff like that. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately, even like seeing you travel and seeing all your posts and stuff. And I'm like, I would love to travel, but I just don't know how I would make it work with how
Mm.
strict I am right now. So I'm curious, like, what your
What's absolutely.
experience has been like that. Like, how has it been
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, like, finding food? Like, I know, like, you have a bit of a wider diet than me, but for the most part, you're still pretty, like, strict carnivore.
Yeah. Like that's probably harder for you because you obviously have a lot of health complications that need to be healed, right? But like I traveled a bit last year when my health wasn't in the best of states, and you can always make it work. Like I think even when you do travel to areas like Southeast Asia where there are lots of seed oils and stuff being used, which we're both not big fans of, I guess. But there's always options like they slow cook meats, they braise them there. There's always things which are cooked right in front of you on the charcoal.
Yeah, true.
And it's also if you stay in hostels and stuff, which I like to do. there always seems to be a kitchen available there, so you can always just pop into the supermarket, which I love to do, and just explore the local foods on offer and cook for yourself if you really need to. So I found the more time you spend in a country, the more you can work out, oh, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. And I'm just a huge believer, like as soon as you heal from something, you shouldn't let your diet hold you back.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
from experiencing new things, it's obviously completely different. If like yourself or myself back in the day, where we have things to heal and our health comes first. But so I think if you're relatively healthy and you can handle a lot of foods, you can't let those foods get in the way of you experiencing more of life, in my opinion.
100%. 100. I love that you said that. I couldn't agree more. And people ask me all the time, like friends, family, whoever, like, do you plan on eating this way for the rest of your life? And I always
Mm.
say I plan on doing an animal-based diet for the rest of my life. But if it was up to me, like, no, I don't want to just be so strict when it comes to just like meat and butter or whatever it is. Like, as soon as I heal from like these issues with mold and Lyme and stuff like that, trust me, like I'm gonna be incorporating more foods because
That's fun. You're gonna have some fun. Yeah,
but that's also like, I mean, that's a whole other thing is like you have to make sure you don't go off the rails, right? And start just eating like crap again.
it's a
Um,
slippery slope. Like, are you someone who's a moderator or an abstainer, I guess?
yeah, I want to get into that because I feel like you're a moderator, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I go back and forth. It's hard, and that's why I kind of want to get into like bodybuilding and stuff like that because I never did well with like super strict diets, like ever. So even when, I was in the best shape of my life, like 12% body fat, super shredded, I was still having like pizza and Popeyes and stuff like that, like once a
Yeah.
week religiously. So,
Wow.
but also I had insane cystic acne. I was constipated, terrible gut issues. So it's like being shredded, all these issues, and
Yeah.
now it's like most of that has gone away, but I don't like my physique as much, so there's so many different factors that go into it, so I don't really know. Like, I feel like I am kind of a moderator. I'm kind of like in the fence, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But
12%, like I'm still eating like pizza and Popeyes. I mean, that's impressive, man. I don't know how you did it.
I did it like pretty good for like a year and a half, and then I just crashed so hard. I mean, you know how like
Yeah.
that burnout is when you're like so religious with every macro, every workout, you're not missing it. I had like such a killer streak, and then I started to get really, really sick, and my body was just like resisting everything. So, you know, it is what it is. But I want to hear more about your specific health journey. So I actually don't even know how you started the carnivore diet or who was the first person you saw. I know you told me like briefly about your health issues. So if you could just educate everybody else on that, kind of what you were going through, why you started, and how it's helped you.
Sure. Yeah. Um, Geez, I have to think back now. It's probably
Yeah. Loaded question.
geez. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, like you said. There's probably a lot of factors that led to it, but I'd say I probably started carnivore at the start of last year. So yeah, like it's been over a year and a half, fairly comfortably. And I was just having gut issues, man, like really bad gut issues. It's like in other issues, okay, as well, that I didn't originally tie to my diet, like joint inflammation, lots of chronic tendonitis, which I was told, for years and years. So the physio said, "Oh, look, he just lifted heavy back in the day, so damage is done. You have to live with it, for the rest of your life. Like
Hmm.
it's just to go to the gym, can do a leg day. I would take some oxycodone, just like smash some oxys and do
Wow.
squats. Like it was honestly that painful. Like
Wow.
because my mental state was just like I have to do my squats. So the only way I can do my squats is if I take oxys. So
Hmm.
completely dumb. But yeah. So the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge, I guess, was my gut issues. Like it reached a point where I'd have absolutely anything to eat, and the pain in my stomach was just next level. I'd be rolling on the floor, just absolutely in tears for
Wow.
half an hour to an hour, and that's partially because I was having all those foods that I thought, oh, I'm having these gut issues. Here's what I should do. I need to up my fiber intake, So let's have lots of oats, let's have lots of vegetables. And that just wasn't doing me any favors at all. So after going to doctors for months and months and months, getting every test out under the sun, rounds of antibiotics, I just kept on getting worse and worse. And I was at a point where I've tried absolutely everything. And then I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast. I think.
Yes.
I heard, I think, I can't forget exactly who it was talking about the carnivore diet.
Was it Jordan Peterson or Michaela Peterson?
Could have been Jordan Peterson, I think.
Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, this sounds, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear here, but absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
There's no way this is going to work, but I could give it a go, whatever. And within like 4 days, my gut seemed to have calmed down a lot. Symptoms were pretty low. And the most surprising thing was my joint pain, like an inflammation, had really subsided to a point where I could start to squat again, start to do pull-ups again, because I had tendonitis in my elbows, my knees.
Oh.
I couldn't sit down for more than like 15 to 20 minutes, like in a car, because my lower back would just cramp up and be super uncomfortable, and that went away. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started with it. But
so cool.
It's a long-winded explanation. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw Jordan Peterson on YouTube as well on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's the best. So yeah.
Oh, the great minds think alike, or fools never differ. You know what everyone.
Oh yes, exactly. I was like, that was at a point where I was like so desperate. I was just like searching every YouTube video on cystic acne and like gut issues and this and that, and then like randomly this popped up, and I was like, carnivore diet, what the heck? I was like, what do you mean vegetables are great for you? Like, how can that be? So yeah, it's so funny because like whenever people see people like us on carnivore, they're just so quick to judge or like say mean things, when it's like we had all the same thoughts that you had, you know what I mean? And it's just like
indoctrinated, right? Can I accept it a certain way?
100%. Like, yeah. I mean, there's so much that we can go into. Like, there's so much. But that's why like I was so excited to talk to you, because I feel like most people on carnivore have a very similar experience where they were super overweight, came from like some sort of eating disorder, binge eating, etc., lost a bunch of weight, blah blah blah. But I feel like you and I are different because we didn't specifically do it for weight loss, like we did it for other issues. And I'm curious to hear about your relationship with food, because you already came from like a super disciplined mindset. Like you were doing bodybuilding. We both know how that is. Like you were already used to counting macros and being pretty strict. So I would love to hear you talk about that a bit. Like, was there any sort of mental part with food that you feel like was cured through carnivore, or do you feel like, no, I already have that under control, I just physically feel better?
Yeah, like I think you and me are quite similar in terms of why we came to the diet, like, and the backgrounds in the gym and fitness and that kind of thing. I do think that my relationship with food has definitely improved and almost completely healed. But I don't attribute, like, that's only partially, I think, like attributable to carnivore and animal-based diet. I think mindset plays a huge role in that, like above all else for me. So I feel like carnivore helped me stay full and kind of in tune with my natural hunger signals and that kind of stuff. But I feel like if you want to heal like your relationship with food as a whole, I think you have to do some inner work first. I don't think that's like entirely like you change your diet and you're good. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to really separate, I guess, yourself from what other people think, and work on that part of your mental state. I don't think you can completely heal your relationship with food from just changing a diet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And obviously, like binge eating is just a huge issue with so many people in the
Oh,
world. Like, I mean, it's crazy when I think about it. Like, so many people have binge eating issues and they don't even know, right? Because everything is just so normalized. Just eat and eat and eat, and it's so crazy. Do you? I know
what was
this is.
your business back in the day? Did you have any like kind of foods and stuff you would always gravitate towards in that sense, or what?
Oh, for sure. I still have a lot of work to go, like with my relationship with food. I don't like binge anymore, but I definitely wouldn't say like I'm fully in control. You know what I mean? But my go-tos, I just love salty stuff like
Woo!
burgers, fries, and pizza, and like fried chicken, like that. That's like
Yeah,
I can crush a
yeah.
bag of chips like easy. So that's what it always was for me. What about you? Did you have any like go-tos?
Oh, look, um, now, like, not so many cravings, but certainly back in the day, I think I was with you on the pizza front, and the salty food front. Like, I'm a salt fiend,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
But definitely a weakness I still even have today, like, is ice cream, man. Like,
Oh
ice
man.
cream just gets me going. Like, just kind of similar to you when you were talking about, like, before when you were shredded, you went such to Popeyes and, like, pizza and all that sort of stuff. Like, I remember literally there was a point for, like, 6 or 7 m months when I was at my heaviest. I was probably weighing, like, 115 or so kilos, and, so, like, I'd call up the local Domino's, and he'd know my order. It was literally every single day in the gym, I'd turn up to the same Domino's, and like I get the same pizza, like a side of garlic bread and an ice cream. I would get that every day after the gym, like
Classic.
every single day. Kinda same as you, I had like at that point, my cystic acne was bad as well. I mean, like, oh man, for years and years through school, I had really bad cystic acne as
Oh, no
well.
way. I didn't know that.
Oh man, I was on Roaccutane for 6 years.
No, really?
Yeah, that stuff is really damaging for your health, hey? So, um, yeah.
Wow.
Are
Okay.
you ever on that? Like, Cycloracetane?
So my doctor tried so hard. So
Mm,
yeah, I'm like honestly so happy that I advocated for myself because okay, so we have a very similar journey. Like I am a little over a year now on carnivore. So I started like last July. Um and that's when my acne was just so bad. I'm talking like huge cysts that would like cover
yeah,
my
I remember
eyes,
seeing
like
photos, yeah.
so bad. So I went to my doctor, and because he tried putting me on like birth control before, which I'm also super against. That's a whole other thing. So I went
Oh,
back
yeah.
to see him and I was like, you know what? I'm so desperate, like whatever, like put me on the birth control, let's just do it. And he's like, I really think you should start like Accutane ASAP. And I was just like, you just have that gut feeling. I'm just like, no, no, no. Like my gut is already destroyed. Like I know my body can't handle that, and I'm just afraid it's gonna cause all these issues. So he tried and tried, and I was like, you know what? No, like just give me like a few more weeks. Like let's try a couple months on the birth control, and I'll get back to you. So it's funny. Like I started the birth control, and then like 2 weeks later, I started the carnivore diet, and within
Wow.
like
Yeah.
I got off the birth control after like a month. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. But within like 4 weeks, my skin cleared up so much, and then I saw my doctor like I think 2 or 3 months later, and he was like, "What?" He was like, "What the heck have you been doing?" And I was like, "Okay, I know this is gonna sound crazy,
Yeah,
but"
myself.
I
Yeah.
was like, "But I started the carnivore diet," and he's like, "So what are you eating?" I was like, "Literally just like meat and butter and like some berries," and he was like, "All right, keep doing what you're doing." And I
Oh,
was
wow,
like,
he's pretty open-minded then compared to most, so
he was really cool. And then I went back like at the 6 month mark just to get some blood work done.
mm,
And he called me back in for my results and he was like, your cholesterol is like the best I've seen out of
oh,
anyone in like so long. And he was like, your blood work is amazing. Like everything was like so well. And he was like, are you still on carnivore? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, keep doing what you're doing. And I feel like it's very rare to hear from like a Western medicine doctor.
yeah.
So it's always cool to kind of tell people that story.
Yeah, it's encouraging, right? It's like, "Okay, like, what I'm doing isn't crazy because there's always that thought, in the back of your head thinking, "Yeah,
I know.
could be
Yeah.
something."
Yeah, you're always like scared to tell people, but yeah, no, super grateful for it. But that's crazy. So do you feel like the Accutane was probably like probably a huge factor to a lot of your gut issues too, would you say?
Uh, I'm not sure. Like I know,
Yeah.
like when it came to liver issues and kidney issues, yeah, it was huge. Um, like so I started Rakuten when I was in school.
Okay.
Um, and then I went off it for a few years, and my acne was and then I started obviously taking steroids, and then that just blew it the hell up. So then I
Yeah.
was taking Roaccutane to counteract the effects of the steroids. Yeah, it was just so dumb, you know. So then, like, I went to my doctor, and he's like, "Dude, your liver enzymes, kidney, it's absolutely insane. You have to stop what you're doing." And that was kind of like a wake up
Wow.
as well.
Wow.
So since that point, yeah, my acne's been good. Um,
That's crazy.
and
Yeah.
as well, if you go off the diet, it just comes back, right? So there's
Yeah. That was my
kind of
next question for you is do you know because I have like basically like the top 5 very specific things that I know just blow up my acne. So I'm curious, have you figured that out for yourself? Like we both know seed oils, obviously, but I'm curious if you have
amen.
other specific things that trigger your acne.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's most foods which do include seed oils. I guess when I think about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, chips. Oh yeah,
Seed
there we
oils.
go. Yeah, seed oil central. But yeah, like I think besides from that, if I have too much dairy, that does tend to do it. But once again, I know that's different for different people. For me, also chocolate. Like
Okay.
chocolate also sets it off, which I guess is also in the dairy category. But
Sugar could be the
yeah,
sugar
I
too.
guess like chips and chocolate were always the two for me, and then obviously seed oils and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
How about
no,
for
that
you?
you know what's crazy? So, because I needed to know for sure. So, like, and sometimes I laugh thinking about it because, like, my skin would be so good, then I'd be like, oh, time to bring something back. And then I just like,
Self-sabotage, here we come. Yeah.
exactly my favorite thing. But what's crazy is one of the things that makes my acne the absolute worst is oats. And like, I was
Oh,
religiously having my protein oatmeal every single day for
it's the
probably
best
3
thing
years straight,
ever. Yeah.
right? Like, cutting out oatmeal was extremely hard for me.
Oh my god, same. Yeah.
Like, worse than rice, potatoes, I was like, my body was used to having it, like, every day. Now when I think about it, I'm like, "Nope," but I knew you could probably relate to me on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, amen. Wow. So, that's
Weird, right?
interesting. Yeah, with acne and oats, I never made the
Oats
connection. It could be.
and, like, peanuts, all like, basically any type of nuts. I've tried to reintroduce, like, some peanuts or, like, almonds and see, but that made me break out pretty bad, makes my skin, like, so itchy too. Um
Interesting.
So those are the big ones, and then, I mean, like, I just react really badly to all of, like, the nightshades. Like, I had acid reflux. I don't know if you ever had that, but I had acid
Yeah.
reflux for years, and it's so funny because it would only happen, like, mainly after I would always have my, like, cheat meals on Saturdays, right? I would order, like, my large pizza, my
Yeah.
breadsticks, garlic sauce, you know the drill, and,
Some days to recover.
yeah. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would literally have, like, throw up in my throat, and I would have to, like, I literally had so much, like, acid in my throat, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, have to chug water, but the worst part is I would do it again the same week, and I always thought or sorry, the next week, and I always thought it was the dairy until I started carnivore and I tried reintroducing tomatoes. Oh my god, it was the tomatoes. It was the tomatoes the whole time.
Okay. Jeez, yeah, you've done some work to really nail it down, right? Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. I would never have thought that oats and tomatoes would be such, like the major culprits there. That's
Yeah. I know a lot of other people in carnivore are like they have the same reaction to tomatoes. That's like one of the worst ones, but it's just so interesting. Like looking back, all these things that you thought were healthy,
oh,
are causing like a lot of these issues.
mm. Can what you say with oats as well, like, it's such a good food, man. I used to have oats 3 times a day, you know?
Yeah,
Like oats
yeah.
in the morning, like then you have oat pancakes, then you have oat cookies,
Oh
you
my
know?
god,
It's
yes, yes. I was
like
doing the oat protein cookies. I know a lot of people won't in carnivore won't agree with us, but like, yeah, I was definitely big on the oats for sure. And another
mm,
thing you told me about too was we were both having heaps of spinach, and like you noticed that was causing a lot of your issues too, right?
lots of oxalate issues. Yeah, yeah. I think for me here in Australia, we have these frozen packs of spinach. They come in like 250-gram portions. They cost like 90 cents at the major supermarkets. So
Oh wow.
super cheap. I just thought, okay, I'll just add this into all my it's like my rice meals, my chicken and rice and my beef and rice meals, because the typical bodybuilder, oh, what's on the menu today? It's chicken
Yep.
and rice,
Spinach.
oats, and more chicken and rice with some broccoli or spinach. So
Literally.
so for me, it was 4 times a day, 150 grams of spinach. So 600 grams of spinach a day,
That's bad.
um, all day, every day. So I think that's what, like a lot of my issues, especially with my joints, were probably oxalate related. But yeah, who really knows?
Oh, man, and it hurts me because like we didn't know, now we know, but there's so many people that don't know. And even some days when I'm like scrolling on Instagram and stuff like that, and you see these influencers making their smoothies and throwing in like heaps of spinach, and I'm just like, no, no, stop, stop, stop. Like, oh,
Yeah,
and it's just like,
yeah.
and it's one of the healthiest things. Like, add spinach. Like, I didn't even know why I was adding spinach to my protein smoothies. I was just
Oh, it's
adding it.
just, yeah, you were told it's good, right? Like it's Popeye. He's got the mad,
Yeah.
like massive forearms. You get all the iron, which you can't absorb. There you go.
Exactly, literally, you can't absorb any of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think back about that. Um, so this question, I actually don't know the answer to this, and I'm curious. Did you ever do strict carnivore, or for like this whole year have you been animal based?
No, like the first, I'd say 8, 9 months, I was super strict. Like we're both kind of
What?
extremists, right? Like in that sort of regard, right? Um, like I just went cold turkey. I was like, look, I'm just going to do this. It was like probably 8 months of my biggest cheat would have been like, oh, I didn't plan to have egg whites. Like I only wanted to have the yolk. So you know what? I'm gonna be crazy and use some egg whites today. Or uh, actually, I lied. There was this one time. This one time, I had chicken teriyaki instead of just normal chicken. So
Whoa.
wild. Yeah, I know. So
This guy's
just
crazy. That's so funny. I don't know how I didn't know that though. Yeah. I guess thinking back to a lot of the meals you posted and stuff, that makes sense. So you were pretty strict for a while, and then you got to a point where you were just like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I think it's kind of time to add some things back in and just see how I feel.
yeah, like I think carnivore to me was never the long term solution. I think it was just kind of a measure to I don't know, like a tool to use until I healed,
Hmm.
and then start to incorporate more things because I love food. It's my life. I'm a chef. I cook with food all the time. And it's always going to be one of my passions. Like when I travel, I love tasting the local food. Um, so I guess always wanted to be kind of like resilient in that sense and be able to tolerate more foods. And I knew that the answer to that was not just going to be eating meat, eggs, and butter the rest of my life,
Hmm.
because it makes me feel great, sure, but there's more to life. There is
Yeah,
more to life. And I think,
100%.
like, kind of on that tangent as well, I mean, it's weird how humans are being painted nowadays. Like, oh, we're so weak. We need like, all these kind of pharmaceutical interventions, like this and that. Like, we are so resilient as human beings, and we can survive off a huge range of diets. So you look across the world, and people are relatively healthy, eating a huge variety of foods. It's just I think carnivore is useful when you have something to heal, kept to give your body a rest from everything. And then after that, I think it's probably good. They could introduce some hormetic stresses and actually build the body back up. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I could not agree more. And it's so true. Humans are so resilient. Although, like you said, they try and convince us that we're not and that we need this pill and that pill and this and that. But yeah,
mm,
we are so resilient. And, I always tell people that too. Like, I never try and push the carnivore diet on anybody. Like, I've never once tried to do that. I just simply just want to share my journey with it. But it's like, I see people, I have friends that literally eat whatever they want, and they're doing fine. And it's like other people that are on vegan diets, vegetarian, paleo, whatever it is, like everyone is different. But I always do tell people at the same time, like, I also thought I was quote unquote fine.
You don't know what healthy like actually feels like until you cut all
You
the
don't.
shit out. Yeah, you
You
don't.
don't. Like, I I even had a feeling like I don't know, I guess I just thought, like, everyone's constipated, aren't they? Like, I don't know. Like, all I was like,
It's
"Oh."
the opposite problem. Yeah, yeah, just depends. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just that was, like, a really, really crazy thing for me during those first few months was realizing, like, how I felt after, like, such a short time on, like, an animal-based carnivore diet, and then thinking back to, like, my life and just, like, how much I was struggling and how much I just didn't know anything about nutrition. Nobody taught me. I was just kinda doing what I was told, and luckily, like, my mom educated us a lot on seed oil, so, like, growing up, like, we all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how she
She
knew
was
a
ahead of
lot
her
of.
time, man.
She was way ahead of her time, so, like, we she taught us about, like, seed oils and aspartame and artificial sweeteners and stuff like that, so, like, we only ever use extra virgin olive oil and, like, coconut oil and stuff like that, so that part wasn't, like, too bad for me, but, yeah, just, like, the whole vegetable thing, I think that's, like, the biggest thing, and, like, even with my family, like, that was you know, that's always a hard thing for people to get on board with, like, "What do you mean you're not eating vegetables?" Now, my entire family doesn't eat vegetables, like, nobody
Really?
nobody does, yeah, but I knew there was one thing I forgot to put in the intro, and it was that you were a chef, so I would love to hear more about that. How long have you done that for? And are you still currently working as a chef in Australia, or where did you do that?
Yeah, so I start work again in 2 months after this next little holiday stint. Um, yeah, I mean, I've been doing it seriously probably the last I have to think maybe like 4-ish years, 5-ish years, like full time. Because I went to uni, I kept a secondary education, realized that it really wasn't for me. I was just going to uni
Mhm.
to tick the box. My mum's a chef as well, and I guess I was always kind of hesitant to go into that space because there was just something intrinsic in me that was just like, oh, I shouldn't be treading on her toes or go into the same field.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, after just kind of some self-reflection after university and after spending all the money to go there and do something I'll never use, which was a
Yep.
good choice.
Yep.
I thought, like, my passion's always been food. I've always loved cooking. I've loved working in restaurants. Let's make the most of that. And I think just kind of like you, like we're so kind of extreme in almost everything we do in life. So for me, I just went absolute hell for leather and that, and just got experience in as many places I could, worked long hours. And I think now I've taken most of this year off, not because I don't love it. Like, I absolutely love what I do in the kitchen.
Mhm.
Like, it gives me such an amazing sense of purpose, and I'm just so passionate about it. I just took this year off simply because the opportunity was there. Like, I thought there's not going to be another point in my life where I have the opportunity to just kind of take a step back from work. Nothing is tying me back to Sydney. Um, so I'm going to take this year just to explore. And that was hard because I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah.
Um, so I love doing the same thing every day. It's just that sense of comfort.
Yeah.
Um, are you the same in that way, I'm guessing? Or,
100%. Like,
yeah,
addicted to routine, for
yeah,
sure. For sure. Yeah. I I feel like we're kind of similar in the sense where, like, I would, I guess, consider myself pretty spontaneous, but at the same time, I love my routine, but it's not even like I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I don't even have like the same routine, like, or the same schedule every day. Like, some days are super busy, some days are super light. So I kind of just go with the flow. But I don't know,
mm,
just like I have periods where like I'm super down to travel. Like the last couple years I did like a decent amount of traveling just like in the States and stuff like that, seeing friends and family. And like this last year, I haven't done anything. I was like, I just want to hibernate. I just want to stay home, work out, focus on my health. And I think
yeah,
most of that was just related to like honestly how depressed I was and like the health issues that I was going through. So I'm sure when I'm healed, like I'll have kind of more of an inclination to want to like travel again. But I don't
Mm.
know. There's something like just comforting about like having your routine, going to your gym, doing your coffee shops, this and that. Like I've always loved that.
Yeah,
So okay, I still have so many questions for you. It's actually crazy.
that's
But
this. Keep 'em coming.
I want to talk more about how this way of eating affected you in the gym because I think something that's going to be something that people are super curious about.
Mm.
Because especially during those first 8 to 9 months, you said you weren't even having any carbs, right? So you were obviously in ketosis for a long time. And how was that shift in the gym for you during your workouts?
Yeah. I think most people probably have a similar experience where the first month to two, you don't feel optimal because obviously you're shifting over your energy source, right? From carbohydrates, where I was having probably on average 700 to 800 grams of carbs a day, to nothing
Crazy.
overnight, So I think those first few months where you have to adapt to that new energy source are tough. Not to mention trying to squat, with the early carnivore days. I mean, there's some stuff that happens down there. It's not fun. So that was a bit tough. That was a rough adaptation. But yeah, I think it's weird. Probably after that 2 month mark, like leading into that third month, I actually felt really good. My energy levels were just consistent. The only thing that probably suffered, I don't think I lost that much strength. It was just the pump, which like
Okay.
for a workout is just, I don't know, like a muscle tightness and
Yeah.
feeling like the muscle pushed up against the skin just looks cool in essence.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't happening. So like I would pound salt, like a lot of salt, and it's still, I was used to getting these insane pumps from carbohydrates, and that just wasn't happening. Um,
Mm.
but like in general, my workouts were really good. I just had energy to spare, like just so much energy. So I was doing a lot of volume. But um, then probably after the would have been like 4 or 5 months in, I started to run into some electrolyte issues. Um,
That was
so
my
that
next question.
yeah, I think a lot of people do as well, and that's why I think a lot of people also don't stay on carnivore long term. You do have some people obviously make it work, but yeah, I think a lot of people tend to go towards the animal based route or adding in some more carbohydrates simply because they realize my electrolytes or my sleep aren't exactly optimal, and my workouts could benefit from having some carbohydrates in them as an athlete. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's always one of the main reasons people just leave the carnivore train like too early is because of the whole electrolyte issue. For me, like I wouldn't say it was like a major issue, but like I was going through like some severe cramping and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
It's like at night or during the day.
I never had it at night. It would be like during the day. Yeah, so I never like had any sleeping issues, which is weird because I know that's the case for most people. Was that how it was for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just like got to a point where I was waking up in the middle of the night fairly regularly at like
Oh,
2 a.m. And I just started to play around with everything and noticed that if I had carbs just before bed, like a few hours like before bed, I wouldn't be waking up.
hmm.
Um, so yeah, my sleep just felt improved in that sense, which like the science backs up too. So Um, yeah, now I like to center my carbohydrates either just before my workout, or intra workout, so I can use those carbohydrates,
Hmm.
or maybe 50 grams before bed, like 2, 3 hours before bed. I just find it really helps my sleep and my electrolyte related issues. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's best for sure. So do you think you can deal with that electrolyte problem without bringing the carbs back in? Like, do you think you can simply just supplement it, or do you feel like it really is just different for everybody? Also depends on how much you're working out, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously a way you can make it work. Um, I go back and forth on this because I'm huge on root cause healing, and I'm not sure if the carbohydrates are a band-aid or the solution, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I feel the
So,
same way. I feel the same exact way.
so like, there's obviously, you know, tribe stuff which made it work. I mean, when you think back evolutionarily, I think that's the way I like to focus a lot of my thinking is what makes sense. You know, I always say common sense nowadays isn't exactly common, and I think we need to get back to that. You know, like just thinking what makes sense. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so when we evolved, we might not have had access to carbohydrates a certain part of the year. And I think there's not just an easy answer of saying it's 50 grams of carbohydrates a day, it's 100 grams of carbohydrates a day. I just think it's much more nuanced and complex than that. You know, like at certain times of the year, we would have had access to fruits or certain types of carbohydrates, honey, whatever it might have been. And that changes where you are in the world as well. I mean, if you're on the equator, you have access to carbohydrates all year round. In certain parts, like when I go to Switzerland in the mountains, you wouldn't have had access in colder weather to any carbohydrates. So
Yeah.
I just, yeah, like I could go back and forth
I
on
know.
this, and I don't think there's an easy answer to it.
Yeah.
Essentially,
I
yeah.
think you said it perfectly. I think that's the best way to put it because I'm always going back and forth on it too. I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know, and that kind of leads me to my next question because even with myself, like I'm still in the process of figuring it out. Like right now, I'm not sticking to any like strict macros. I'm obviously prioritizing like my fat and protein, and I would
mm,
say like I haven't been tracking every day, but I'm probably having around like maybe 40 to 60 grams of carbs a day. But also, I had like 3 days last week where I had zero carbs. So I kind of just am going off like how I'm feeling, and I don't
yes, yeah.
know. I don't know if I should like continue to do that. But I'm curious for you. Like, are you trying to stay under a certain amount of carbs a day, or is it exactly what I just said? It kind of depends on how you're feeling that day.
I think it's interesting. I mean, like if you'd asked me 6 months ago and someone said, "Oh, you're a fan of intuitive eating," I would have said, "That's bullshit, man. It doesn't exist." I mean, and I think I think you have to almost earn the right to be intuitive with your food. I think if you're incorporating any sort of processed food, I just don't believe you can be intuitive because those
Yes.
foods are designed like to break down your barriers, right? And they can make it so you keep eating more, and it just messes with the whole system. But I think if you're eating animal-based whole foods approach, you can afford to be intuitive. And for me, there are some days where my body just says to me, I am really craving carbohydrates, or I am really craving fat, or I'm really
Yeah.
craving my protein. And I think that's for me, I attribute that big change over the last, 6 to 8 months, whatever it is, from kind of working on my mental state, which sounds completely separate. But I find like after I have a few days of meditation, whatever it might be, my body is so much more in sync with my mind. And I can just listen to it and say, oh, you need carbohydrates this morning, or okay, you need fat this morning. And I look at my fridge or I go to the market and I'm like, you know what? That sounds good. And I'm going to have that. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's when I feel my best.
Oh my god. This is so good. I just love this so much. This is so much good information. And
Oh,
yeah,
well,
no.
I don't know if it's good information, but it's fun,
No, no, it is. Like I really love hearing like your experience and your perspective on a lot of things. And I just feel like I agree with almost everything you say and we have like a lot of the same thoughts and values. And with intuitive eating has always been like a tricky one for me. I've always been like super against it. Like I literally just posted a reel today on intuitive eating with my interview with Courtney. So it's funny you brought it.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's not like black and white. Like I tried intuitive eating before, and intuitively, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna eat this whole bag of chips. So obviously, it's it's not black and white. But I think like in this case scenario with like what we're doing, we're obviously still sticking to carnivore, animal based, whatever you want to call it. We're still eating very clean, but if some days we want some like blueberries and strawberries, we're like allowing ourselves to have it. And if that's the worst thing I'm having, I'm not gonna
Oh,
make myself feel guilty.
take away my carnival card, like,
Yeah, exactly.
how dare you? Like, how
Arrest
dare you?
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take me away. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
feel the same. I feel like it's a shame to see where the carnivore community is kind of going with this. I think you just can't be set in your ways a lot of the time. I mean, if someone comes to me and I ask them, "Oh, when's the last time you actually changed your opinion on something?" and they can't give me an example, I'm like, red flag.
Thank
Like,
you.
you just have to be open-minded to changing your opinion on so many things. And as soon as you do that, I feel like life just opens up to you in so many like regards in that sense. You just have to be
Yeah.
open with the diet and trust the process and not have any foods in this category of I can never have these foods. I think that does more harm to your mental state than actually including those foods ever could.
Oh my god. 100%. Yeah, you keep answering my questions before I even asked you, but that was another thing I wanted to no, that's awesome. That was another thing I wanted to talk about was, your opinion on like the strictness of like the carnivore community because I think that's something like I'm better at now, but I struggled with it for a long time. Like, we both have platforms where we like publicly share stuff and like share our journeys and our meals and stuff. The thing that bothers me the most is like people just freaking hold you to every little thing. It's like you did something one day, oh, you better be doing that for every single day for the rest of your life. It's like every day we wake up and you have the opportunity to change. You can change if you want to. You don't have to change if you don't want to. And like I'm specifically mainly talking about my TikTok account because I was
I've
documenting.
heard, man. Like I've heard TikTok is pretty toxic
They're
in that sense.
so mean. They're so mean. And like, I've been able to help a lot of people there, which I'm grateful for. But it's like I was documenting my super strict carnivore journey, and now like I call myself like animal based, so I'm sharing those meals, and people are like, "Oh, you're a quitter, like you're a fake carnivore, this and that," and I'm like, "Dude, I don't understand what you guys want from me. Like, I wouldn't be eating things if they didn't make me feel okay. Like I've said a million times, I don't want to only eat beef for the rest of my life. It is my favorite food, but I would like to have other things too. So yeah, I kind of that is one thing that bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever I see comments like that, like it's just people like projecting their own insecurities onto you, and then people are so so many people have large degree of ego attached to them. You know what I mean? Like they'd rather be so completely unhealthy and like, don't
Yeah,
know exactly how to put. Like they just have to be right in that sense,
yeah, yeah.
and it gets their pride. It gets in the way of them actually changing. So,
Oh, for sure.
kid me whenever I get comments like that. Like it honestly does not phase me in the slightest. And once again, I'm a huge believer in healing. The internal mindset before you can ever heal anything else. I think the mind certainly controls the body in almost every aspect of life.
Oh, for sure. I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends yesterday. We were actually talking about meditating because
Hey, my
I used
bread and butter. Here we go.
I know, I want to get into this. So I used to be like religious about my meditations. Like every
Mm.
day I would wake up, my phone was locked away in my nightstand. I would turn it off before I go to bed. So I would wake up, meditate for like an hour and a half every morning, and then I would start my day. And I was doing so good, honestly, until I got sick. And now it's like
Mm.
probably only doing it like once a week. And I've been wanting to get back into it so badly. So I was talking to my friend about it the other day. She's been killing it, doing it every day. She saw like a lot of really good changes in her life. And then we were talking about how, when you get more in tune with that, when you get more in tune with yourself, you notice like how angry the world is. We were just talking about how there's so much
Mm.
like anger, like more than ever, in my personal opinion. And we were just like, imagine if everybody just started meditating every single day and just started like, you know, healing themselves and being nice to themselves, the world would be such a better place.
Yeah, it would. It does have the oxygen mask analogy, right? I think in that sense, like you put your
Yeah.
own oxygen mask on before you can help anyone else. I think it's that same thing. A lot of people are so unhappy with themselves, and then they project that onto everyone else, and that's what causes this like circle of hate. That's
So
the
true.
entire time. If you're happy with yourself, you're going to be happy with others. You're going to want to help others. Yeah,
So
that's
true. I would love
yeah.
to hear like more about your journey with like your mindset and meditation because I feel like we've been talking quite a bit for like the last year and genuinely I would say you're one of the most positive people I've ever like encountered. Like you do and it is very like genuine. Like you can tell like you've put in the work. So I'm curious, did you ever used to struggle like a lot with your mindset? Were you ever like super negative or had a lot of like,
Mhm.
you did?
Huge. Yeah, I mean, when I was into bodybuilding, I mean, I was look, it's always I've always been very easygoing in that sense, but, I did have a lot of mental demons, certainly, like with body dysmorphia and all that kind of stuff, and, like I said before, I wasn't happy with myself, so I wasn't always outwardly happy and outgoing with everyone else. And the thing that really, like, turned the tide for me was, um, I feel like everyone kind of needs a catalyst to change with everything in life. When it comes to diet, when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to body, whatever it might be, you need something to push you over the edge and force you to change. So I feel like, when you try and convince people to go carnivore, to start to meditate, or to work on the mental state, even or go to the gym, they're not going to do it unless there's a reason for them to change and having the why. I think for me, that why was just shit hitting the fan all at once last year. So, had a super tough time. Like, a few friends passed away. My long term girlfriend and I, we split up. Um, was in between jobs, like, moved out of the apartment. My dog died. Like, just, it was like everything happened in like a month. I put a knife through my hand at work, so I couldn't work. Had like 32 stitches in my hand, couldn't do anything for ages, lost all the feeling, and yeah, it just wasn't a good time. So after that, I was chucking everything into my career, and I just thought I'm going to be the best chef I possibly can be. Kind of transitioning over from bodybuilding into that, just kind of transferring that energy into that. And so I was in Thailand, and this is what changed everything for me. And I was working at this super fancy, it's 2 Michelin style restaurant there. And while I was working there, I got the cough cough, and I the cough cough as well. I call it.
Yep, yep.
And so after that, they let me go and said, "Well, look, we'd love to have you, but obviously, like, you only have a certain amount of time left. It was probably not worth it, for you to stick around." So after I spent some time in my hotel room and stuff, I went out to enjoy the street food in Bangkok, and I met some people out in the street because um, I was eating some street food and I had my salt shaker I bring along to everywhere. So that was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a conversation starter. And they said, "Oh, should really go up, head north to Chiang Mai, the Pai sort of area, and do some meditation stuff." And I was against it at first. It really wasn't my thing. But then I thought, it's a sign, just go with the flow. Um, and I ended up doing a 7-day meditation retreat up there because, like, it's like the extremist mindset, right? If I'm going to do something, do
Yep,
it.
yep.
Um, so it was no food the first 4 days. I didn't do food the first 4 days. It was no talking after the entire time, and 16 hours of meditation a day was minimum. And
Dude.
I never really meditated before that point, so this was kind of in the deep end. And then after like day 4, I reached a point of insane clarity. And I was just seeing all my issues stemmed from what other people thought about me. I know everyone always says it, like, just don't care what people think about you, this and that. But until you actually see it for yourself and resonate with that, it just changed absolutely everything for me. So that was the catalyst for change that I needed. Um, and then from that point on, I healed my relationship with my body, and kind of worked towards getting out of the body dysmorphia mindset in a lot of ways. My stutter, which you know about, improved so much because that's mostly social anxiety more than anything else,
Mhm.
I believe. Um, so yeah, I think that was the big defining moment in my life, kind of end of last year. Yeah.
That is like
Once
in
again, sorry to
like
ramble. I know I was just trying to collect my
you
thoughts.
better not
Yes.
apologize again. No, seriously, I have goosebumps. That was like I didn't know any of that, and that I knew like some of it, but that is like insanely inspiring and powerful. And life is crazy because when it rains, it pours, right? And you had like everything. You had everything coming down all at once. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about life is like the choice you have at that moment. Like you could have easily just went the other way. You know what I mean? But the fact like you dove into your work, you got that opportunity, you went to that retreat. It's like I just think that that's so cool. And the fact that you did that 7-day retreat, I've been wanting to do Vipassana meditation retreat for like so long. So it's like we have one just a few hours away from me where it's 10 days. Same thing like you said, it's like 16 hours a day, no talking for 10 days. And the lineup is like huge to get in. So I
Really?
applied, yeah, they're fully booked. The next one that's open is for January 1st. So the registration opens on like September 20th. So I'm gonna apply to that one because I've been wanting to do it for so long, and I can't even imagine like not talking. Can you talk about that a bit more? Like I know you just shared how it's changed kind of your mindset and stuff like that, but do you feel like it's even made you more careful with like your words? Do you feel like you find words more powerful after kind of going through that experience as well?
Uh, yeah, I don't know if the no speaking thing really changed anything in that regard. It was just the first few days were very hard because I'm a very sociable person. I like kind of interacting with people. So um, I think the thing a lot of people struggle with that concept is just being alone with your thoughts. And I don't think we do enough of that in today's society. We just constantly search out the dopamine response, right? We're
Yep.
always on our phones, always doing something like to escape the feeling of being by yourself and actually alone with your thoughts. When I was there, actually, like after we finished, we went out for tea, which sounds oldish, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Um, talked about our experiences, and someone said something to me that's super profound, um, just in regards to sitting in silence with your own thoughts. It's everyone like I talk to so many people who suffer with insomnia nowadays, and they just say, "Oh, like I overthink, can't sleep, this and that." And he said, "I was used to be the exact same until I started seeing my thoughts as I did my emails." It's like,
Whoa.
yeah, like if you kind of step back and distract yourself from those emails coming in all day, right? And nothing's going to get accomplished. You're not going to see or reply to any of
Wow.
those emails. So when you go to bed and it's the only time you have to check your emails, aka your thoughts, then all those emails are going to hit you all at once and you're going to be overwhelmed. And I think we should be doing the same thing with our thoughts, but just like addressing them at certain parts during the day so that they don't bank up and causes kind of background noise and anxiety. I think that's what the no talking thing is. It's you're not distracting yourself. It's the same with the food. You're not distracting yourself. Just like you're able to go so much deeper internally when you able to push all those distractions out and just sit with yourself. I think that's
Yeah.
where the change kind of comes from.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Wow, I'm mind blown by that thoughts and
And so was
emails.
I. It wasn't my thought. It was someone else's thought I just stole. So yeah.
That's yeah, that's good because I'm definitely one of those people. I've gotten a lot better at it for sure, but like I used to be one of those people that always used to have something playing, like music 24/7, or like I had to have a YouTube video on in the background even if I wasn't listening to it. Now,
Mm.
like I actually rarely listen to music anymore. I actually got
Oh, really?
kind of cut that out cold turkey because it was a big distraction for me. I don't really tell many people that because everyone's like, "What? Come on, it's just music." But for me, I do think it was a bit of a distraction. Plus, I mean, with the whole music industry, that's a whole other topic that we could get into.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I
Yeah, but
just we have to have a call after this
yeah,
to
yeah. Maybe we'll save
topics.
that. Maybe we'll save that for offline. But
Yeah.
yeah, nowadays it's like, especially when I'm eating, like I force myself to eat in silence, which is like still kind of
Mm.
uncomfortable to be completely honest with you. but
So you
it's
used to watch like a YouTube video of someone else eating or something like
always,
that?
always,
Oh, yeah.
always,
Something like,
always.
oh, I have company here. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. I would watch
yeah,
like a fitness video or like a YouTube vlog or something. But now it's like today, like I had both my meals outside in the sun by myself, and it was like really nice. So like you start to appreciate it more and more. But it is interesting when you start to make those changes, you realize like how addicted you are to like stimulation and distractions and stuff like that. And most people are never gonna want to even come to terms with that because it's just easier to stay distracted.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so you're definitely inspiring me to get back into meditation more because like I noticed like a huge difference and everything's just about routine, right? So I know like if I did it, even every day just for like 10 minutes in the morning, I know I would kind of be back in that routine. So I just got to
Well, yeah,
kind
I
of get.
mean,
What do you think?
like, I think for people is all like the excuse like, I'm not saying you have excuse like you're super
No, let
busy
me
or
hear it. Let me hear it.
like I think like the main thing I hear for people is like, oh, I'm just not very good at it, is their number one thing, and the number two, I don't have time. Is most of my meditation is not like you're sitting down cross-legged, kind
Mhm.
of focusing on your breathing, right? For me, I find it so much easier to incorporate into everyday activities. So, for example, like every night before I go to bed, like I do my stretching routine and like a Theragun session, which is those
Oh, okay, yeah.
like this massage gun thing, right?
So
Like
good.
best thing ever, best thing
So
ever.
good.
And I've done the same routine with that every day for like the last 2 years, right? And so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
And because those movements are just second nature, your mind can do whatever it wants to in that sense. So
Mm.
like, I always liken it. It's like you ask people and say, "Oh, when do you have your best thoughts?" So what? And,
Shower.
oh, exactly. And it's because you've showered the last God knows how many years the exact same way routine, and so your mind doesn't even have to like think about it. Like, that's a state of meditation. That's the state of
For sure.
meditation. So if you have the same stretching routine, yoga routine, or like just whatever it could be washing dishes. Okay, if you allow your mind to go to that space, that is a type of meditation. You don't need to set aside the time to sit down cross-legged for 10 minutes. It could
That's true.
even be when you're driving into work, probably not recommended because
Yeah,
of like,
right.
you that's just things you do every day.
For
It's
sure.
you can find peace and amazing thoughts in so many aspects of life if you just let it.
100%. Yeah, there's definitely so many opportunities throughout the day that I feel like we kind of don't take advantage of. But you can be mindful, right? So many times throughout the day and just kind of like stop in your tracks and just try and kind of be present. But I mean, that's a big issue these days, right? Is being present. It's
Mm.
hard for sure. But yeah, no, that's so cool to hear about your journey. Like everything kind of like lined up um at the same time, like you kind of working on your mindset, getting into meditation, and then finding carnivore, healing like your physical issues. And then I'm sure because you work so hard on your mindset, that accelerated the process like so quickly as well, right?
Have you read the book on the Surrender Experiment?
No, I haven't.
Another one to add to your list. I know you have so many books you have to
I'm
read.
writing that down. Surrender experiment.
Yeah. I think the author is Mickey Singer, and just kind of talks about going with the flow in life. It's yeah, I think you'd like it in that sense. Very
Yeah, no,
what you just
that would
described.
be awesome. I think we talked about him before, but are you a fan of Joe Dispenza, or have you read any of his books?
No, I haven't.
No way you don't know about him. All right,
You have to send me the list of
we're
books,
gonna
man. You
yeah.
send me the list of
All right, we're gonna have a whole separate conversation offline too. But for anyone listening,
Sounds good.
if you haven't read his books, he's actually why I got into meditation a few years ago. So he's
Oh,
awesome. Yeah, yeah, he's super cool, super cool. Um, this is crazy. It's already been an hour, and I feel like we just started talking. Like
oh yeah, we're only a quarter of the way through. We're good to go.
honestly, um,
I can sit here all day,
oh,
but
for real, for
the
real.
audience is probably getting bored, so I'm sorry, but
No, if you guys are getting bored, I'm sorry, but I still got a couple more questions.
I'm
We'll finish off finish off with a couple more.
Yeah,
Okay, because
please.
this is people specifically want to know exactly what people are eating. So I know you're not
So
eating the same thing every day, but for the people that are watching, what would be like a pretty good like average day in the life of your meals?
key, I love to hear about this stuff too. It's my steak and butter, not my bread and butter.
Yeah.
God, let me just you think about like a typical day. Well, something like, can I just go off yesterday because I was
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I work a bit. I'd say typical would be like in the morning. I go gym 6 days a week now, just for like half an hour. So it's typically I'll have some carbs in the morning. Um, might be like a banana, um, 20 grams of raw honey, and some coconut milk, and then a coffee to get the day started. If I'm super hungry, I might have a few eggs, just something light so the caffeine hits me harder.
Yeah.
Um, then probably post workout, I try and have my largest fat meal earliest in the day, just because I find that's what helps me feel my best. So could be like 400 grams of mince with 4 eggs, and that's fatty mince, like really
Mhm.
fatty mince. Probably like 70-30. With some bone broth, butter, or some avocado, whatever it might be. Then a small lighter meal of something lean a few hours afterwards. So that might be a really lean steak or chicken or some avocado or whatever. And then for dinner, um, yeah, it does vary, but normally if if I am trying to put some carbs at the end of the day now, which is what I tend to do, it has changed so much over the last few months. But
Mhm.
right now, I'd probably have like a risotto sort of thing with 200 to 300 grams of lean meat again. Macros probably end up around 200 grams of protein, say around 150 to 170 grams of fat, and then on average, maybe like 80 to 100 carb.
That's
Just
awesome.
absolutely spitballing on that, but probably around there.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I actually agree with you. I always do like my fattiest meal in the morning. I just feel
Mm.
good. Like if I just get like a lot of fat early in the day, I just feel so much better. Um, and then yeah, if I ever do have carbs, it is usually like honestly, it's usually at night. But like I'm only doing 2 meals a day, so like I pretty
Oh,
much have
wow.
the same thing for breakfast every day, and then dinner just usually changes. But I like it simple, and you don't really have to think. Makes life easy for me,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
right?
So why the 2 meals a day? Is that just, like, where you naturally end up feeling good is around those two meals, or is it for
Yeah.
specific purpose?
Yeah, I never did it intentionally at all. I'm usually not hungry in the morning. So like I used to intentionally do intermittent fasting. Now it's just like it's just what my body likes. So usually my first meal will be around anywhere from like 11 to like 2 p.m. So anywhere in that window, I usually have the same thing. I'll have a pound of ground beef, like 30 to 40 grams of butter, and like sometimes I'll add in like some sheep or goat cheese, and that's
Mhm.
pretty much it. And then dinner will usually be around like 7 or 8 p.m. I'm trying to eat like a little earlier, because like there will be some days where I'm so busy I don't end up eating till like 9 or 10, and I don't really like eating that late right before bed.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 meals a day just like works for me. I feel like when I start working and like doing my stuff throughout the day, the time just kind of goes by and I'm just kind of not thinking about food, which is crazy because before it was just like
Yeah.
addicted, 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 always thinking
Pretty
about food.
focused, yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
so yeah, but I find that with most people, like most carnivores I talk to at least are doing like maybe 2 meals a day and then like maybe like a
yeah.
tiny snack, but it's like we just don't need as much
Oh,
food
exactly.
plus
Satiated.
yeah, we're satiated. Plus, like, I mean, even with my first meal being a pound of ground beef and like that much butter, it's like over like 100 grams of fat and like 90 grams of protein. So it's like
Ah,
that's
yeah.
more than like most women especially are probably even eating in like their entire day. But yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things about carnivore is just like I like how simple it is. Like I know it's boring to people, but I like it.
I'm kind of interested to ask you on this as well. Kev, you found when compared to that before, are you saving money,
Oh
staying the
yeah,
same or more? Yeah, saving?
saving for sure. I think that's one of the biggest myths with carnivore. People are like, "Oh, I wish I could eat this way, but I'm not rich." I'm like, "I'm not rich." Like,
Agent
I
supply. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you agree though? Like, I started saving so much money when I went carnivore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Like I think like $50 a week and I buy like top quality stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like even if you don't want to spend much, like the mince I bought the other day, I mean, as I said, it's fatty as hell. And it was like $8 a kilo Australian, you know.
Whoa, that's
If you
good.
go to like, but the thing is, like, it's so backwards in this world. Like, all the cuts that are fatty, right, and actually taste good are the cheapest.
Yeah, yeah.
And for on carnivore, and you need that fat as an energy source, it really doesn't have to be that expensive if you're smart about the cuts you choose.
So true.
Um, so yeah,
So
can
true.
be
Yeah. I always tell people, like, trust me, just try it for a few weeks and then get back to me if you still think it's expensive. Because like
mm,
I was probably spending like at least like 300 to 400 bucks a month just on like takeout. Like it was bad. Like I was buying food so much. That's not even including my groceries, right? And now, now it's
wow,
like, I'm not going to convenience stores. I'm not getting takeout. I'm not spending money on food. Like I load up on like ground beef and like butter like once a month. And that's like most of my diet. Like if I get some berries and some cheese here and there, like it doesn't really add up to much.
and it's also as well, um, it's just off like uh, calorie standpoint as well. If you're cutting out the vegetables, I mean, when you're taking time, so the price per calorie of those foods, the fruit and vegetables, I don't have a problem with the health side of things as much. It's
Hmm.
more so like the cost per kilo of those, and then you compare that to the caloric, um, so the density of those
Yeah,
foods.
that's
You're really
so
not
true.
bang for your buck. Like you could be buying $30 worth in broccoli, but you're not getting that many calories from it. Like I'd rather just get the nutrients.
That is so true. I feel like I've never really heard many people talk about that, but now that you say that, it's like, yeah, exactly. Because people are like, "Oh, produce is so cheap, this and that," but it's like when you put it in relation to calories, you actually realize that doesn't really make
Not
sense.
cheap nowadays. Like it's expensive. Really
Yeah,
is. Like the same. It's priced as meat per kilo almost,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're not getting anything out of it.
No, that's so true. I actually love that you brought that up. Wow, this is good. This is such an exciting talk. I love this. Okay, we're gonna end it off with this. There's some other questions, but we're just gonna have to do a part two. All right, we're gonna do a part two.
I'm
So
all for I have all the time in the world too. I mean, I'm unemployed, so please.
perfect. I'll take advantage. 100%. All right, so we'll end off with this one. So let's say somebody's watching, they're like, "Man, this guy is so cool. He looks so happy and fit and healthy. I want to start the carnivore diet, but I'm so overwhelmed. Like, what do I do?" What would you say are like three tips? There's gonna be three tips. They can be simple, they can be detailed, but if somebody came up to you and they really wanted to start, they didn't know how would you lead them into that with just three pieces of advice?
Yeah, this is nuanced. I think it's obviously my disclaimer first off. I think
Hmm.
it's different for absolutely everyone. So a lot of people do message me and say, "How do I start?" I feel like it's different for different people. I'm gonna come at it from a normal person's perspective. They don't have any chronic health issues or gut inflammation, anything like that. Because for those people, I think the easy answer is it's probably easiest to go to the elimination style first because you
Hmm.
have these issues, need the baseline. But for someone who's trying to start off, I don't think there's anything wrong with working your way into the diet. Obviously, it depends on your personality, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think probably the tips for being on a carnivore diet as a whole is don't be scared of fat. I think we've just been indoctrinated to think a certain way that fat will make you fat. Um, it's just obviously not the case. I lost 40 kilos on carnivore in a space of a year. It's not going to make you fat.
That's crazy.
Um, um, Secondly, I think focus on nutrient density of foods above all else. Don't focus on weight loss. Don't focus on anything else. Focus on nutrient density, because your body will naturally resort to its most favorable state when you focus on that. If you need to lose weight, you'll lose weight. If you need to gain weight for a bit and heal, it'll do that. And no matter what you eat, I think for me, in the early stages with those mental struggles, it's what makes the big difference. Because even if you think it's going to impact my body composition or this and that, you know that you're nourishing your body. You know that you're doing something for it. So I think that's pretty key. Third piece of advice, give it time. I think you've been eating a certain way for God knows how many years. Don't expect it to be a really easy transition or an overnight success. Most people I talk to who have done this have seen the real benefits kick in around the 3-month mark. And it's not saying you have to be strict for that long. It's just saying give your body a chance and it will thank you for it long term.
I love that. I love all those answers. That's like my favorite question to ask people because everyone says something different. So it's always so cool. It's always so cool. But I love all three of those points. Okay. I know I said that was the last one, but I had no idea you lost 40 kilos.
Yeah, no,
Was that intentional?
yes and no. I think at my biggest, I was 117 kilos, and that was like I wasn't fat. Like I still had abs.
Yeah.
And then it was a shift I'd made after like a holiday I went on, which I would probably don't have time to get into. But that was like the catalyst of me realizing that bodybuilding was impacting my life, because I was on this amazing holiday and I wasn't enjoying a single moment of it because my mind was just like, I have to get to the gym. I have to get to the gym and do this and that. My whole day would center around it. I'd leave amazing skiing days after like 2 hours and say, nah, like the rest of the day I got to eat. I got to get back to the gym, whatever it was. And I was miserable for months and months and months. Wow. So after that, I said, I can't do this bodybuilding thing anymore. I'm coming off the steroids and doing all this sort of stuff. And then, it was just a shift of I want to get healthy. So I knew I had to lose some weight. So I went into like the mainly omnivore but vegetarian side of things, and I lost a bit of weight, but my body composition was suffering. And then obviously got the gut issues, which could have been a result of that or other factors. And then I swapped to carnivore, and my body composition lended itself a lot more to holding on to muscle and losing fat. And then over that course of time, I lost all this weight. So it was a combination of factors. Like me coming off steroids, it was me changing my lifestyle.
A lot.
So a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you feel like happy with your physique right now, like the specific weight that you're at? Like, do you think you would want to stay around this weight?
Look, I committed with a few friends to do a show, like a bodybuilding show at the end of next year.
Oh, right. So, you're doing one.
Yeah. So like, I know I have to add weight.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy I'm doing it now, because like when you say you're happy with your body, I do not care. It's the first time in my life where
wow.
I look at myself and I actually mean it when I say it. Like,
that's huge.
Don't care. It's like even simple things like, I don't know, I won't get into it, but long-winded. But yeah, no, I really do feel good with my body, and I would be happy with wherever it ends up as long as it's healthy. Again, holding a degree of muscle mass, I think, is healthy. So I think, I'm sitting right now, a bit up in weight. I've committed to the next 6 months of adding weight, but I'm about 77 kilos right now.
I'm so curious to see how that prep goes. Yeah, so we absolutely have to do episode 2 now, because I want to see how you're feeling like as you're adding weight and stuff like that. That'll be cool.
We gotta do it. You gotta do
it. Yeah. No, you're gonna kill it. That's awesome. this was so fun today. Like this was so good. I feel like I benefited selfishly like so much off of so many of the things that you've said. So I really,
Gosh.
really appreciate you for that. Tell everyone where they can find you on socials. I'm not sure if you're just on Instagram or if you're anywhere else. So let them know like
Just
what
on
you're at
Instagram.
is.
Yeah, because it just takes up too much time to do anything else, I
So
know.
much.
Yeah, okay, with YouTube, I know that takes up a lot of your time. But yeah, my handle is Value Eats on Instagram. And for anyone who wants to hit me up and talk about carnivore and just transition over or do whatever, or when it comes to fit, fitness programming, like I train people for free just because that's just what I love, and I'm unemployed. So please, I got all the
That's
time in the
amazing.
world. Have any questions? Hit me up. More than happy to help anyone that slides into my DMs. So yeah,
That's
please.
amazing. You heard him. Take advantage of this guy while he's unemployed before he gets too busy.
Yeah, before
Awesome.
like the next few months, that yeah,
Yeah.
please hit me
Yeah,
up.
100%. No, for sure. And I'll make sure I put your handle and everything in the description too. But thank you so much for your time. Like this was just
Thank
such
you.
a good chat. And yeah, we gotta have that offline chat too about all our conspiracy theories and all that as well. So I'll hit you up to plan that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm super excited to do it again.
So excited, and thanks for having me on as well. I mean, I watched all the other ones you've done as well with Lily Kane as well. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
starstruck.
you, you
That's
officially
insane.
made it to the top three.
It's podium finish. There we go. Podium
Honestly,
finish.
wouldn't
I know
wouldn't
that
have
sounds great.
wouldn't have it any other way. I'm super happy that you were able to come on this early. So thank you again, and yeah, I'll hit you up after this, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I feel like that was just such a fun chat for me. Mike is a great guy. I've learned so much from him, and he definitely inspires me a lot. So, like I said, I'll put his details in the description. But if you guys got anything from this video, please drop a comment, like, and make sure you're subscribed. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.